Welcome to another retro review here, February 7th of 2002. Bars. We are live in the Staples Center for a Smackdown. I know it wasn't on Friday. Nights before, they go over. This is just weeks after the Royal Rumble. Now we're heading over to No Way Out, and the major storylines heading into this is, of course, the feud with Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, and recently over the what looks to be falling out of their marriage was rekindled due to her being pregnant, Stephanie being pregnant, trying to close in their wedding. Obviously, for the most iconic scene you have ever seen Triple H in, out of his babyface run. Of course, calling Stephanie a hoe. I mean, the majority of the storyline Stephanie's been in the Attitude Era was called a hoe. You know, her as GM on SmackDown, she was still technically called a hoe. You know, even after, before her authority run, she was called a hoe. Like around the 2010, she was just the authoritative bitch on the main roster, on the authority. Back in the day, even 2009, they were calling her a hoe sleeping with anybody on the roster. Seriously. That's sad. We even opened over with another recurring feud over during the time of Mania. The Rock that got jumped over his title shot, squandered over Undertaker, causing a DQ finish after I think The Rock had Kurt Angle, probably the worst sharpshooter I've ever seen. It looks super awkward because the Rock's legs are way too long, and it just doesn't feel like there's any arc in it, so it just doesn't look any painful. And Undertaker's like, stop that. I'm gonna make you famous, bitch. I'm already famous. Very entertaining. The Rock tries to call out The Undertaker, knowing that it ain't even. And Booker T comes to interrupt, feeling like he has a chance after beating Triple H, and saying that he's got the Rock's number. And immediately what comes into a major squabble immediately becomes an impromptu match to open the show. And it was a good back and forth for under 5 minutes. As an opener, you have The Rock and Booker T, not even that well built up, and The Rock wins clean by a rock bottom after Booker took too long. After, with the scissor kick, he comes doing the spin Rooney. The Rock comes out of nowhere with the People's Elbow after the kip up. There was like a rollout with the DDT. Everything was looking valid. The fans were popping over. If you want to know how to enjoy yourself, pull up 2002 SmackDown. You will never feel bored with an episode. A 2-hour episode felt like it was 45 minutes. That's how it felt watching this entire show with about a quarterly of about 4 matches in a 2-hour program. And majority has been consumed, absolutely overtaken with goddamn NWO advertising, like comparing communism of Joseph Stalin, ironclad fist in Russia, to NWO. Freaking commies, the NWO, oh my god. Seriously, they've ran this over any segment, any backstage segment, any match, after commercial break. Before you take a piss, after you take a piss, there you have the NWO. Now, I understand this was heavily advertised after Vince McMahon still had 50% of control of the WWF due to his partnership as the custodian being Ric Flair. And they've been going over this recurring rivalry that did culminated with a match at WrestleMania 18 at the same year. So we built it over that, with Vince bringing a lethal dose of poison to the WWF. And that's signing the guys that he tried to compete with in the first place. The NWO. Just the acting. I don't know if it's as worse as when... let me give you something. We can shit on Vince as he is as a businessman. I mean, as it is as he is trying to book creative, trying to get top guys to get pushed over on TV. His acting is spot on. Whenever it comes to him making a personality for himself on television, he won't let you look away from television whenever he's on, bro. That's very masterful for a personality, especially for somebody his age, that still Looks great for his age, around like what's his mid-70s. So good for him. And just noticing, the opener was the shortest of the match. Not even the main event went over 10 minutes. And that was a handicap match involving Triple H against Chris Jericho and Kurt Angle. Next, we even had a 6-man tag involving. No, I think before that we even had a promo segment involving Chris Jericho going over that he's the undisputed champion. It don't matter what Stone Cold freaking Steve Austin's gonna do. Like, you can just tell, you can just hear the mid card from his voice. No disrespect, I love Chris Jericho. They should have, like the previous idea, if anybody was educated about the information beforehand, before knowing that when he won at Vengeance, the idea was actually to make Kurt Angle the undisputed WWF champion. I would have went with that, because Kurt Angle had a heavily more entertaining segment involving him making fun of Triple H getting a child, going over with a doctor, going over their grievances, being like, this child is going to rekindle our marriage, and the guy kept saying smashing. JR kept saying King kept saying smashing. I keep forgetting Michael Cole commentates on SmackDown most of that time, until Taz took over as colored commentator around later. I thought he was still colored commentator around 2001, after the Invasion storyline wrapped up. And it's like, yeah, smashing Cole! Smashing Cole! Just see Michael Cole with the frosted tips on his head, bro. You know how young he looks, bro. Just sad. Just looks like, even around my mid-20s, I'm still getting friend zoned. But, you know, gotta give respect. It was fun commentary in and out. Jerry still had some good one-liners around the show. Just the advertising makes you just feel like you want to hop back in 2002. Probably when you were a fan of the WWF, when you had less responsibilities in your life. I'm just saying. And that goes for a lot of fans that probably grew up on like post-Attitude Era to Ruthless Aggression. This is technically near the beginning over the Ruthless Aggression, because I think the draft would start after WrestleMania. So we also had a 6-man tag involving the Dudley Boys, involving Devon and Bubba, and William Regal, that were the heels. And Regal was the Intercontinental Champion, feuding with Edge, and they would keep having this back and forth with the IC title, I think until Judgment Day, against Rikishi and Rob Van Dam. Just saying Rikishi, I mean, that should be a bad thing, but he was babyface still around this time, after 2000. I think after getting hit into a haystack and Steve Austin literally pimp smacking him like a controller after a marathon of Elden Ring, and Rob Van Dam getting his one of a kind song out, because back in the day it was when he first debuted into the WWF, it was just that's how it was. So, you know, it was an early start for everybody. Also, Zombie was in the building, the person who made Edge's theme before. You think you know me? Well, we had an immediate start-off brawl, because most of these guys are heavy in storylines. Of course, reoccurring what happened on Raw. We had a corner splash, a springboard into a drop kick, double missile drop kick from RVD and Edge. Everything was looking entertaining. I was just shocked that Regal would pick up the win with a Tiger Bomb. A freaking Tiger Bomb went clean on Rob Van Dam, so the heels pick up the victory. And then another NWO segment. I swear that should be the just commercial break at this point, Vince. Because you just built this over for the pay-per-view, where obviously, shockingly, that the acronyms for No Way Out literally goes for NWO. So that's wild within itself. Then immediately after an altercation with Kurt Angle, mocking the child of Triple H and Stephanie, of course going over the news, you're gonna be a star, cuckoo gaga, you're gonna be a star. You don't have to be going to the gym to be a star in the WWF. Oh no, I think I made a mistake. Kurt Angle, of course, calling him a monkey with a big-ass nose. Triple H coming over, starting a brawl, beating the crap out of him, clotheslining him, and then Vince McMahon would cause a handicap match involving Kurt Angle and Chris Jericho. And, of course, we would have remembered this episode of SmackDown because Chris Jericho would mock Steve Austin, looking more of a mid-carder, bringing a guy into the ring that looks like Steve Austin, but he's overweight. Drunk and calls him the better man. It ends with Steve Austin coming out of nowhere, making Jericho look like a bitch. This is like the prelude of Seth Rollins in 2002, back when Seth Rollins was world champion in 2015. Like, y'all can see it when it comes to his moniker, his stupid hair. At least Jericho had a fashion sense. That would be the only thing I would give Chris Jericho credit, even though the most is like, look at the pants! Cole, look at the pants! Looking like a Dutch fashionista. Looking like the only straight person in the Tropicana. That's all I'm going to say. They also heavily advertised, Maven, the young Tough Enough upstart. There's also another Tough Enough, the female winner of the Tough Enough that didn't accumulate to anything. Just like Maven, he spent like 3 years in the WWF after literally eliminating The Undertaker. One of the biggest household names, and not only in the WWF, and literally pro wrestling. And got barely anything except around like 2004. He main evented Raw against Triple H for the WWF title. And Maven picks up the major upset. Beats The Undertaker for the Hardcore Championship after taking chair shots, suplexes. Al Snow came over with support, his coach over in Tough Enough. After taking the last ride, somehow this nearly went for accumulating the same amount of time as the main event of the handicap match involving the Undisputed Champion. I know they wanted to make it feel a little bit big because it's the second to last match and it's involving The Undertaker trying to get a young guy over. But you still gotta make Maven look like he still can't ever win a winnable fight against The Undertaker. That's wild to me. So, we also had Chris Jericho and Kurt Angle face off against Triple H. And it was just a 2-on-1 assault involving also Stephanie McMahon. And it's just, I fell asleep this entire match, bro. I'm being serious. This was just, sadly unentertaining. Like, probably you guys would have found it fun. I'll give this a good 6 out of 10 episode of SmackDown. Some segments were memorable. Steve Austin had his time in entertainment. But why not just make this a tag match involving I know they stacked the deck against Triple H to try to get him over as the face. But why not just get Steve Austin there and get double the heat with Jericho and Angle on top? Plus, Steve Austin faces Jericho at No Way Out. Just try to kill two birds with one stone. That should have been the advantage. Make it a 3 out of 2 handicap match if that's possible. Do something. I felt like this main event was missing something. Even though I know it was supposed to get the heat off for Jericho, but it still made him look weak. Thanks, he can't legitimately beat Triple H. And and also the person who advised Jericho facing off against Triple H before Mania was Ric Flair. That was also in the segment. It just felt like forced because they knew they were going to change it because they didn't want to sell off the main event of WrestleMania. I wish I was more optimized. Of course, this was an enjoyable episode. I felt like I needed to watch Raw more than SmackDown that episode. But that's just my opinion. You think differently? I understand I haven't done these retro reviews in a while. I never promised to be consistent. But I do want to do more of these if possible. Probably with a co-host. or at least, you know, a bit more animation if copyright allows me to, but I know it won't. But, you know, I enjoyed watching this episode of SmackDown, and probably a future one, probably around 2003 or later 2002, or a retro pay-per-view review, even though many channels do that. But tell me how you thought about this video. If you, and maybe this will make you get Peacock and watch the old episodes, because technically that's the only thing that's keeping the WWE afloat right now, and that's nostalgia. That's it for me. Thanks for watching the DST show, and thanks for watching.